Hoverson's Las Vegas Summit.
It was just the most incredible event I've ever attended.
I'm absolutely grateful. I know this will have a huge effect on my future.
Vegas just really upped the game.
The next conference that comes up, you have to come to it. It'll change the way that you do business.
This is what's happening. This is where you're going to become successful.
Whatever anyone can do to get to the next live event, you need to do it.
Greetings from Mark Hoverson. Hope you are doing well today. I'm on a mission to fulfill what King Solomon, who was called the wisest and the wealthiest man who ever lived, gave us in Proverbs 22:29. And he left us a little bit of a riddle again. Here it is. He says, do you see a man who is speedy in his business? Now, a lot of translations call this skilled, but if you look into the Hebrew, and I'm not going to bore you with Hebrew right now, but if you look into the Hebrew, the idea of expediting and speed is bigger than skill. Skill is the result of doing something over and over and over and over and over and over and over, and that's how you develop skill. So the real thought there is, do you see a man who's speedy, who's quick, who's fast in his business? Then he says, he will serve before kings, not before obscure people. Now, the idea of obscure here is almost a little bit like he's not going to serve shady people. You know, some translations here say common people, but it's really not the idea of ordinary people. It's a little bit of the idea of a lesser caliber of person. It's more of a character thing here than a class. And so in the ancient world, the kings were, you know, and this is romanticized a little bit, but the idea in the near ancient East culture were that kings were, they were in many cultures, not Solomon's, but they were literally regarded as gods. And they were in many cases looked at as basically the whole lifestyle and the whole well-being of that culture was dependent upon the king. And when King Solomon talks about this speedy person will serve before kings, the idea there is that the king has integrity and the goodwill of the people in his heart. And so the idea is very like, they're going to serve before the best of the best, not before shady people. So with that in mind, the big question right now that this video is after, and just really buck up and take charge with this video, engage this. I am giving a ton of really deadly good information, but I'll let you be the judge of it. Here's the riddle that Solomon does not answer for us. He gives us that verse, but he doesn't answer this. How do we craft for kings? What do we do to stand in their presence? How do we get to a point where they seek our goods and services and ideas? Here's a tip. When a king promotes you, your career, your income, your influence will have a meteoric rise. One example in the Bible would be when Joseph was in jail, right? He got sentenced down to jail, and he's sitting down there in the prison, and a couple chapters later, he's Pharaoh's right-hand man. He rose meteorically, and that would be an example in the Bible. But, you know, the purpose of Solomon's CEO is not to be talking about histories in the Bible as much as it is the history of your own life. And that is what this course is about. So let's bring this very tangibly to kings and queens, how you personally can rise to kings and queens in your niche industry. So here's the action guide. Follow along. Print out the action guide if you want, but if you don't do the action guide, at least think through this with me. Here it is, and this is for you. Who are the first people that come to your mind when you think of the leaders or the big dogs or the queens or the icons in your industry? I want you to think of the kings of the marketplace in your industry, the leaders. Who are the leaders who others in your field follow? The books that they read, they're often referred to, they're quoted to. Who are these people in your niche industry? Who are the kings and queens that you would love to work with? You have a respect for them. You maybe read their books, or if they have something that comes out down the pipe, and this might be a company, somebody in your company is the king or the queen, but they're deeply respected. You would love to joint venture with them. You'd love to serve right alongside with them. You'd love to be considered a colleague. So just to get more distinct, who are the influential people in your niche industry? and here's the question, if they recognized and promoted your work and labors and ideas and products, would absolutely revolutionize your life. See, what I want to do with Solomon CEO is take this totally into your life. It's not an information product. It is about your life and really cultivating something that, so the end result is that your life is completely revolutionized. So here's this question. I'd like you to write 7 names of the kings and queens right now, but who are the influential people in your niche industry that if they promoted your book or your product or your work or your vision or your ideas or your products, if they promoted you, your life would absolutely revolutionize. It would skyrocket. I want you to list 7 names of these kings and queens, these ambassadors of influence in your industry. And again, the purpose of this is to go right back to this idea, to bring home this verse that Solomon left us, that do you see a person who's speedy, who's fast in his business, in her business? They're going to serve before the kings, not before the obscure people. And the best part of this is you want to serve. One of the most rewarding things in the world is serving around people who are the best of the best in terms of character, integrity, big thinking, not the obscure people, not the shady people, not the people that are just out to get a buck and they don't really care about the customer, they don't really care about the client or the goodwill. They're just out, they're greedy. They're the obscure people. You really don't want to surround yourself with those people. You don't want to work for those people because they're going to infect you. You want to serve with the kings. You want to serve with the leaders who are on the front edge. They're the futuristic trendsetters. They're the visionaries of literally the entire globe, but particularly your industry. So with that question, I want you to come up with who are the 7 kings or queens in your industry and write them down right now. It's important, or at least think about them. I mean, I'm realistic. I know you probably didn't print out the action guide, but that didn't prevent me from making it. But moving on. Now, number 2, let's just go a step deeper. And this is part of the code on how you literally ascend to work hand in hand with kings. I'm giving you some of the first seeds of it right now. What tickles these leaders' fancy? I mean, really, what gives them goosebumps? What kind of work do they not only like and respect, but what do they love? What do they read? Who do they emulate? Who are their heroes? And this is deep, because what I want you to understand is that King Solomon is giving us a kind of avatar goal. He is stating now the idea of an avatar, it actually comes, there's a lot of history behind the etymology of the word avatar, but it basically comes from India and Hinduism, and it's the idea of perfection. Okay, it's the idea of a perfect perfection. And perfect perfection, is there such a thing as perfect perfection? But you've seen the movie Avatar. Well, the whole idea was those Avatar people, they were, I forgot their names in the movie, but those were what the perfect people act like as a culture and think about the earth and these kind of things. And of course, there was a huge agenda behind that movie, but I'm going to leave that for another day. But here's my point. King Solomon is saying it is good to serve with the kings, and understanding your client avatar means who is your perfect client. It's understanding who they are, and what King Solomon's saying is the kings of your industry are the perfect client, because those are the people who, if you serve properly and you ascend up to them, they start promoting you, and it radically changes the industry. It changes not only your life, but it can change the people's lives that follow inside that industry. It's really huge. So what I want you to do right now is get to know who these kings are. Not necessarily who the people you sell your products to or this or that, the other thing. That's important. But who are the leaders of the leaders, and basically, what is it about them? What gets them really excited? What do they respect? What do they love? What books are they reading? Who do they emulate? And right here, this is a caveat. If these questions leave you in the dark a little bit, and you're like, I don't know, I have no idea what these people, you can list the 7 people, but you can't go this next step deeper with them. Right now, you are in more of a follower or fan mindset right now, instead of a deep thinking future colleague of these leaders. And let me repeat that, because it bears mentioning. Everyone starts as a follower. I mean, everyone starts as a fan, and so this isn't anything. This isn't a guilt trip. It's no big deal. But the thing is, if you can list those 7 leaders, and you've got starry eyes towards them, and that's okay. That's how it starts out. What I want you to do is learn to see one step behind that, and that's what this question is doing. What is motivating these people? What inspires them? What books are they reading? What foundational documents do they refer to? Or who's their mentors? Because if you're not able to do that, it's okay. But again, just realize where you're at right now in terms of your career is you're more of a follower and a fan instead of a future colleague. And the purpose of Solomon CEO is to take people into future colleague status with the leaders, the movers, the shakers, and the trendsetters and the visionaries for your industry. That's my point. And as an entrepreneur, there are leaders that the trickle-down effect from success in your industry is colossal. And so this is really a leadership training. And I just want to make that little caveat, the distinction between a follower and a fan versus a future colleague. So hopefully I'm clear on that. Now, again, that's okay. But if you believe in the message and the vision of the good that your industry can bring to the world, whether your industry is the health and wellness industry and all it's like when you throw the rock in the pond, the ripple effect of the health and wellness industry, the preventative health and wellness industry, it's colossal. It's only growing bigger. If you believe in the good that that industry can bring to the world, you've got to know who the movers and the shakers and the key evangelists are behind that movement. If you're into political freedoms, you've got to know who are the real voice pieces right now. You've got to know the kings and the queens behind the people that are, if you're into the political scene. If there are key ministries, if you're a pastor or you work in the ministries, who are the movers and shakers? Who do people follow? You've got to know what makes these people tick because you want to work alongside with them so you can further the good that that industry can do for the world. Also, reforming education, whether it's advancing technology, whether it's love of free enterprise. I love capitalism and free enterprise. I'm passionate about it. Whether it's traveling, I believe in the health benefits, the family benefits of traveling, as well as the mental benefits, as well as the recreational power. When you come back from vacation, you're a better worker. I love travel. Whether your industry is popularizing the home business industry, that's where I made my first batch of money, and I love grassroots entrepreneurialism. Whether it's sparking more personal development in the personal development and potential industry, whether it's strong families, strong parenting, whether it's kids sports, the importance of kids sports, fighting down obesity, all these things. The point is this: if you believe, and this is what I really want to press into you with Solomon CEO, if you believe that your product or that your good or that your service is good for the world, your moral responsibility is to learn how to disseminate that product radically, quickly, and vivaciously and with enthusiasm. And not only in doing that are you going to become wealthy, you're just going to flat out become wealthy unless you mismanage your money. You're going to help the world. And it's huge. So that's number 2, to go a step deeper with the kings. But it even goes a little bit step deeper now. And here we go to number 3. Now, in order to be risen up to them, these are the 7 leaders I'm talking about, to be introduced to them, even beckoned by them, you cannot simply regurgitate what's already common. The thoughts, the ideas, the products, the services that they already know and that they already offer. These people, these kings and queens I'm talking about, they usually don't suffer fools gladly, nor does flattery or imitation do much for them. They're just not moved by that. Remember, they're usually a higher caliber person than the obscure person that Solomon mentioned earlier. They usually appreciate adoring fans, but they don't work with them. Okay, so again, the purpose of this video a little bit is to separate and just give yourself the track so that you're a potential colleague versus just a fan of a leader. That's my point. So you will rise before their eyes only by coming in a contributory manner. And it will almost always it's almost 100%. It happens through the recommendation of another who you currently don't know. There's some miracle networking things that are going to unlock before you when you do discover some formulas for how to move up to serve with the leaders. Now, inside Solomon CEO, I'm going to map out a clean and crisp formula on how you can strategically prove yourself up the chain until you are working hand in hand with the leaders who you are thinking of right now. But back to the idea of contribution. This is the key. What do these current leaders need help with? Okay, again, you can't come they're not going to just work with you because you like them. You've got to come with something you could contribute. You can't come with your hat in hand asking for something. Here, promote my product and my life will be better. That's bull. That's not going to work. So where are these leaders currently weak in their projects? Where's their blind spots that you can tactfully and wisely open for them? How can you expand their influence? Who could you introduce them to that could further their passions? That's a key networking thing. I'm going to go into that deeper in Solomon CEO. How can you improve their systems of communication and distribution of their message? You can, literally it's unlimited ways that you can contribute to other leaders right now. How can you increase their profits? How can you lessen their burdens? How can you further their message and form it so it's more impacting than it currently is? This is what leaders are looking for. Leaders who get to that point, the 7 people that you wrote down, the people who get there, they're motivated more. They're not motivated. Now, I'm not speaking for every leader here, but money is not their top motivation, and neither is even glory. Neither is personal pride. A lot of times it's simply the goodwill that industry can yield onto people. It's a big intangible thing that we're talking about here. So fill out those answers, or at least kind of just work with me as we're going here. I'm not expecting you to necessarily print out the action guide, but if you want to really go deep with this, do it. Now, these questions are merely seeds. Okay, they're just seeds that I wanted to plant into you right now. The rest of the code is inside Solomon CEO, and you're going to see it literally in the first video inside the Solomon CEO course. And with this full code, you will strategically position yourself for meteoric advancement in your life's calling and work. Again, the bedrock and the radical nature of Solomon CEO is I believe that King Solomon was inspired divinely to write these words. They were inscripturated. They're in code for us, but they're also in riddles. And our job is gives us a tiny little thing. Like, do you see somebody who's fast in their work? They'll stand before kings, not shady people. And then he doesn't leave us the rest. But I believe that our duty is to unpack and unravel the riddle. And Solomon CEO, in a large portion, is the unraveling of a lot of that code, and it's been proven. And I've used the code inside Solomon CEO to be promoted by kings in 3 distinct industries. And let me just show how this code works and how it's going to work for you inside Solomon CEO. And this first one's a small example, but it's legit nonetheless. I was paid for a published article that I wrote in a leading Christian think tank publication when I was 25 years old. Now, here's a hint. I don't even have an official college education, and the publication is kind of academic. So most of the people that are published in there are doctors, PhDs, and these kinds of things. And I was published as a non-degreed person at 25 years old. I might share more about that in the future. Number 2, several of my marketing products were promoted by the top leaders in the online home business niche the last 2 years. Again, I entered that niche. I didn't have a single connection, not one reference, nothing whatsoever. But within 2 years, the very top leaders, the most respected leaders in that entire online home business niche have promoted my product. Hint, here's a hint. Even one of Donald Trump's CEOs called me for help in putting together a global online strategy. And outside of economics in high school, I never took a single business class in my life. This CEO called me and said, we can fly you. You can meet the Donald if you're going to work with us, this, that, the other thing. The deal fell through because it just wasn't a perfect match for me and what I was after or what they were after necessarily. But regardless, the strategy I'm showing you could have literally put me in, hanging out with Donald Trump. And if I thought that would have, I love Donald, so Donald, if you ever see this, no offense, but I just didn't care enough to go through the deal. But anyway, number 3, how this formula works and how it'll work for you is right now, the Solomon CEO project that you're looking at right now is being promoted by some of the top people in the personal development and potential industry. That's very different from the home business industry. And I don't have any connections there. There's not a single connection that I had. There's no cousin or brother or anybody that went to college with somebody that promoted me there. And 2 different publishers, masterminds behind several New York Times best-selling books, they're eager and talking to me right now about taking Solomon CEO into the mainstream media, into Barnes & Nobles, into Amazon.com, into the big outlets, Borders, these kind of things. The formulas that I show you in Solomon CEO are proven on the street. And again, the history behind this course is I began to look at King Solomon's words like, do you see a man who's speedy in his business? He will serve the kings, not obscure people. And literally what I'd do is I would close my eyes and I'd imagine what that meant for my life right now. What did it mean for my business? Not big, fancy, philosophical stuff, but what does it mean to me right now? And the purpose of Solomon CEO is to take that same kind of pattern and with the action guides, ask you, what does it mean to serve with the kings in your world right now? You're going to find Solomon CEO to be refreshingly practical and also, as I showed you with some of my results, totally proven. Now, just an important couple thoughts on speed, and we're going to be done with this video, but this is so hugely important because what Solomon does show us here is that speed and skill are the secret to getting to the kings. And there's something about execution and action that is, it's got miracle working power. And here we go. Here it is. Now, number 1, you probably have ideas. Okay, this is my belief right now. You probably have ideas that could be turned into information products or even physical products like gadgets that can greatly benefit others, intellectual properties and patents that can yield you passive royalties and residual income. And what I'm telling you in this number 1 is that you being made in the image of God, I believe you have a creator imprint upon you. And therefore you are best in when you are creating and moving forward, in particularly in work and this kind of stuff, you're going to be most engaged, you're going to be most fulfilled, you're going to be most contributing to society, you're going to receive the most love back from the world as you move into it with creative ideas on how you can help people. And I believe that you have ideas right now that could be turned into information products or inventions, and they can greatly benefit others. You may also have rights right now currently to sell existing products or services that can make people's lives easier, healthier, happier, and less burdensome. If you're selling a good or a service, and it can't make people's lives easier, less hassle, healthier, happier, or less burdensome, you should not sell what you're doing. Whatever you sell should make people's lives better, period. If you're not, you need to get into probably just, you got to sell something else. But while simultaneously, so not only are you selling these things, it simultaneously increases your quality of life and creates for you commissions and passive income. Now here's a key thing, and I want you to burn this in deep into your subconscious mind. Wealth is not a zero-sum game where the winner makes the sale and the loser pays the money. Okay, Solomon CEO will teach you much more on this concept, but many people, the reason, and I know how many people are going to be watching this video, a lot of people think that money is a zero-sum game, and therefore, if it's true that, especially if you're in direct selling or you're marketing a product or something, or there's a transaction, a financial transaction, if you believe in the zero-sum game behind wealth, meaning if somebody spends money, whoever makes the sale wins and whoever pays loses, you will never, because of your own internal integrity that's based on a false concept of wealth, you will never get wealthy. You won't even have a chance. You will sabotage. I guarantee you will sabotage. Solomon CEO will go teach you a lot deeper about the unlimited nature of wealth. And that may sound Pollyanna right now, but I can prove it just a million times over on how that literally God has given us a kind of unlimited wealth situation to create here on earth. But that's another story for another day. Here's my point. However, this goes back to speed. If you have a backlog of undone projects in your life, that backlog acts as psychological baggage that holds you back from launching new projects. So you know the ideas like that I was talking about earlier, the new the new ideas, the gadgets, the inventions. If you have a backlog of undone things in your life, that psychological baggage prevents you from launching into those new projects, creating new ideas and marketing plans. If you're selling something but you're backlogged with undone stuff, you're not going to have the creative juice to come up with new marketing to sell stuff faster than ever. You have to be in your creative zone, and that's Solomon CEO is big into the creativity card. You're going to learn more about that. And advancing quickly in your business. Again, how do you get in front of the 7 people we started this video with? You have to advance quickly in business. Now, this backlog of undone stuff, and I'm going somewhere here, so stick with me, actually causes you to get stuck in a major rut. And this is the common experience of most people. Now, follow it a little deeper here. And this is so huge. To the degree that undone baggage is present in your life, and I'm not just talking about, childhood baggage. I'm talking about adult baggage. That is the degree the speed of your business is throttled down. It's like a governor on it. It's set down. And most people are so weighed down in the undone that they never actually excel forward, but remain at the same income level, the same body size, and the same rut relationally, both socially in their social circles and in their marriage. And instead of a deep satisfaction and comfort and ease, they feel a gnawing pain of anxiety and underachievement, which leads to low energy and stress. Now, hopefully you're following what I'm saying here is if there's undone stuff in our lives, it's the most limiting feature to our creativity. If you can free your creative powers, you can create those products and ideas. You can ascend quickly in your business and sit and eat and drink with the kings and further your industry, further the sales, further your company. Now, however, most people have that gnawing pain of anxiety and underachievement. That's where most people live and breathe and have their being. And it need not be so. That's what Solomon CEO is all about. But if this has been your experience, it's actually not as much your fault as you think. Because here's why. Few of us are provided the mentors or the tools or the environment or the cultured information that feeds our desire to work quickly and powerfully in the direction of our potential. It's just very rare to be in the presence of an environment that really flourishes us. Now, inside the Solomon CEO project, we will begin a very thorough and strategic strategy to unlocking your speed of business action, because that's the secret to get to the kings and queens, is that you unlock the speed. That's the whole thing. So that's the key ingredient to excelling to a place where you're thriving on all cylinders and eating and drinking with the kings and queens of your industry, because your work is so great. They need it to grow their vision. So here's the action guide, and we're going to get brass tacks. So to close with just a tip, and this is a bit painful, but I want you to, it's necessary, so work with me here. Here it is. Number 1, what are the top undone things or burdens in your life right now that automatically pop up in your mind regularly and eat away at your creative energy and your peace of mind? That's the question. Just write down what involuntarily reoccurs in your mind, like you can't shut it off. It just keeps popping up as undone and causes you mild or acute stress. This might not be back-breaking stress. This might not cause migraine stress, but it's constant and it's there. And I want you to know, as I'm going to go deeper with you for just another couple minutes, is this is a safe place to do this exercise. It's just you. I'm never going to see it. It's just you in the privacy of your own world right now. But you're probably not going to be inclined on moving towards the questions I'm about to ask, because they're just complete pain points. But in merely exposing them, it's like airing them out in the sunshine and killing the bacteria that cause disease. Plus, I will help get rid of all this stuff, or give you the tools to get rid of a lot of this inside Solomon CEO. So here's the question. Make sure I'm being totally articulate. I want you to write down, and you can write down in code if need be, what is the constant reoccurring thoughts that just they hit your mind, and they're like, oh, I'm not done with that. Oh, I haven't done that. Oh, I haven't done that. Because the more of this, the more that's in your life, it stymies your creative force. And how I've been able to accelerate my business is I've taken a very serious look at these issues in my life, and I've sought to eradicate them. And I give you the formulas that I figured out in Solomon and CEO. But here are some examples, both big and small, that are common to a lot of us. Here's some of the energy eaters. I still don't have my will done, and if I die, the whole thing's going to be a mess. Like, sometimes that pops up in people's mind. I don't have my will done. If I die, the whole thing's going down. Now, here's another one. Every time I walk through the garage to the car and see the mess and all that clutter, I feel uneasy. And it reminds me my life is messy and out of control. Now, some people can live in squalor and mess and they feel great. But if you're an achiever, you can't. Okay, that's a key distinction. If you're an achiever, if you're somebody who's going forward, who's going to prosper, it's just a matter of time and strategy, you can't live with mess. You can't live in that out of control zone. You've got to take dominion over your world, and it's DNA level stuff inside you. So this is a common one for a lot of people. When they see the mess, it's like, oh, my life's just not the way it should be. Here's another example. I have that terrible secret addiction that nobody knows about. But if it ever got out and I was exposed, I'd be ruined. I have to quit, but I've tried and I can't. Now, that's a secret little thing that goes on with a lot of people. But again, just the act of acknowledging that you're there is the first step to breaking through and getting through that energy to where you're living, walking, breathing with purpose and power and the whole shebang. So here's another example. I've been putting off signing that contract for 3 weeks because I don't have all my questions answered yet. If that's something's percolating in your mind, I want you to just kind of purge right now and write down. Here's another one. I haven't called my grandma in 2 months and she could die at any day. Here's another one. Gosh, my tax records for my business are sloppy at best, and if I get audited, I'm totally screwed. This is in the back of probably 50 to 70% of home business people, because most of us were never taught tax world. We weren't grown up. We don't understand it. And all of a sudden you start making money and you just think, well, if I get audited, I'm in big trouble. Just write down the psychic drainers. It's important you do this. Here's another one. I have that book idea I want to share with the world, but I haven't written a single page. You know, the unpublished book. Everyone's got that book that they want to write someday. Here's the last one. I still haven't responded to that girl who wants the summer job at our work, and I told her I'd get back to her soon. Basically, whatever is eating on your mind that you can't shut off, I want you to write down, and here's why. At first, you may feel this list is endless, but if you keep writing until you purge all your burdensome, undone things on a piece of paper, you will feel more in control and honest about the true state of where your life is at this very moment. And once you're there, it's just there's a lot more powerful because you're going to be walking in more integrity and less hiding. Back to Solomon again. The whole nature of inspired scripture is this. Remember when in the very first story in the Bible, you've got Adam and Eve, right? And the very first time it goes on, the story is after they eat the fruit. Adam is hiding. He's hiding from God. And it's this nature of hiding behind things that are deep in our mind. Hiding from our addictions, hiding. The minute you get rid and you step into the light and confess where you're at, this is where you actually start encountering God. And this is where you start encountering deep levels of integrity, radical movement forward, where you literally can unlock the speed in your business. You can serve with kings because you're going to have the integrity to do it. Because remember, a lot of people, they don't qualify to serve at that level. They're shady. They're obscure people. And in your own story, I mean, I've had my own battles with integrity over the years. And I have slowly churned out character from shadiness into higher levels of integrity. But as I've learned, as I've climbed the ladder from down here to, much more, at least just purely monetarily, along this path, Hollywood in the movies wants to make you think that as you climb the path, the people get more cutthroat and they're meaner and they're worse. Actually, the integrity level tightens so much. It's almost like a reverse pyramid here, or it's actually like a pyramid. The integrity at the lower levels can be low, but as you scale upward, it's like the integrity actually tightens as you get into bigger business. It's really totally opposite of what we were taught growing up, or at least what I saw on TV growing up. But here's my point to wrap up. Now that you have that list that eats your mind, that's been eating your mind, just make a quick note to each undone regarding something and just put right who specifically could help you out, including people who you could pay. Go to a good accountant, an upfront, great accountant about the tax thing and say, look, I'm in a mess. I've been hiding behind, I don't know what I'm doing. Please, I'm here. Help me. Okay, your secret addiction, there's people you could go to that can help you out. Or who are friends and family that could help out. Your garage, call your nieces and nephews and say, you know what, I'll buy you the biggest pizza party the world's ever known. My garage is a mess. Can you guys come over and just spend the day going crazy? I don't even have time to really tell you what to do. Just take everything and throw it over there and throw some stuff over there. Just get my garage clean. Or especially this is the key to becoming a leader. You've got to learn how to utilize your employees and your affiliates. Who are employees that you could pass off a lot of that responsibility until everything on that list is done, or at least in the process of being done. This is one of the first unlocking strategies, is getting these mental eroding things in your mind, get them written down, and then get a solving plan going, because as soon as you do that, it's going to unlock the speed so you can move forward on creative, good ideas. But here's what happens. If you don't do these kind of things in life, you're going to stagnate because you can't rise above your unfinished business. That's just it. You can't. It's almost like if this was the water, this is the water, and you're at the bottom of the ocean here, and every undone thing you have, oh, this is the worst drawing ever. Every undone thing you have is like a weight, and it's sitting on you. And up here is the sunlight. Up here you're totally out of debt. You've got a new social circle, or you've got new friends, you've got new everything. Everything is purer and better, and you're not with obscure, shady people anymore. You're totally in the light. But all this unfinished business, it just hangs on you. So 2 things to take out of this really quick. One is, I encourage you to watch this 2 or 3 times. Watch this video again. But I want you to be, I want you to put your name right here. Do you see Shelly? She is speedy in her business, and she serves with, and write down those 7 people. Write down their names. Not shady people, those people. She serves with the leaders. He serves with the leaders. This course, Solomon CEO, is going to teach you way deeper. This is just a sample of the things to come. Again, Mark Hoverson, leave us your comments. Let us know what you think. Have a great day.